Okay, this is going to be the final installment of taking apart a 7940. This is part 7. So here's the front of the phone, and when you last saw it, this was inside, and the screen was inside. The screen is connected by a ribbon cable and 3 screws to this part of the motherboard right here. I've disassembled it from the motherboard just to show you what it looks like. It's just a plain old mono one color screen. 9 screws attached to the motherboard to the standoffs that are molded into the plastic. And this is what it looks like when it's disassembled from the motherboard, or from the case rather. I messed up and pulled too hard and ruined this socket, so this is actually a ruined motherboard now, but well, the actual case was ruined, so I'm sure we have plenty of others that we won't be able to use. And since we knew the hook switch was broken, I'm not terribly worried about it. Anyway, oops. But this is perfectly fine. The NIC panel is perfectly fine. It came out fine, as did its little cover. So the case itself also had on this side a speaker, which of course was facing this way. And around that there was interestingly, a very nice neoprene gasket right here behind the speaker. And this case covered up the back. And I'm sure this is to prevent feedback when you're using the speakerphone and when you're, because the microphone was right over here. Here's the microphone for the speakerphone. It was right here and plugged into the motherboard with this plug into that socket right there. Or no, I'm sorry, it was into this socket right here. On this side, it had 2 items that were plugged into the motherboard. The small socket is the speaker, which plugs in with a 2-prong. This larger 3-prong is the hook switch, which plugs in, or 4-prong is the hook switch, which plugs in right there. And that is the socket that I broke off. Came right off. I just pulled to pull the thing up, just popped right off. So we need to be real careful with that. These are little neoprene button things, and all of these parts are moving, so I decided not to disassemble it. But basically these pads can be cleaned if you need to take it apart to clean them. And here are the buttons that light up. There were this guy, this little 2-panel button thing was right in here. What else did I take out? Well, the spring. I took out the spring, and I showed you earlier how that goes in. I also wanted to show you before I wrap this up. Here's the button that you push to disengage the kickstand, and if you can see what it does when I push the button, it moves that little part down. Here's what it looks like on the inside. I believe that because this part right here is so robust, it's very thick plastic, I think when these are breaking, I don't think it's this part that gets broken. I rather think probably that it's this part that gets broken. Somebody fails to push in on this, right? So when they fail to push in on this, and instead they start moving this little lip, and this entire section probably comes apart, or it might break off at these little hinges here. So I'm not sure exactly when we find a broken kickstand, I'm real curious as to how it broke, but the next broken kickstand we have, we can replace this entire back with this kickstand without even having to replace the NIC part if the NIC's not broken. So here we now have a back with a perfectly working kickstand. So we have these spare parts. We also have a spare NIC board now, even though the motherboard's ruined. This part is destroyed because of this one little problem. This entire piece of plastic is now useless. But we've got a spare screen, we've got a spare hook switch lever, a spare spring, spare hook switch itself, speaker, etc., etc. So this part's bad, and now because of me, this part's bad. So I'm going to toss these, but the rest of this, you can maybe reuse. Not as hard as I thought it was. So I look forward to doing a few more of these, so hand me some broken ones. I'm eager to try it. Thank you for watching this series.